Jason had always believed that love was unbreakable, a force so strong that nothing could shake it. But as he sat in his car staring at the small device in his hand, he felt a weight pressing on his chest, a weight that made it hard to breathe, a key weight that whispered doubts into his mind. This was not something he wanted to do, but he had no choice. He had to know the truth. He had to see for himself if Maria, the woman he had loved for 3 years, would betray him for his best friend. Best friend Daniel had been by his side since childhood. They had grown up together, shared secrets, laughed, cried, fought, and made up over and over again. They were inseparable brothers, not by blood but by choice. So when Jason first got the idea that Maria might be unfaithful, he dismissed it. He told himself that she loved him. He told himself that she would never betray him, but the nagging feeling never left. And when he stumbled upon the UDY loyalty test videos, he knew what he had to do. He had to test her. He had to see if the woman he planned to marry would stay true to him, or if she would fall for the charm of another man. Even worse, his best friend. Daniel was hesitant when Jason first brought up the idea. He thought it was ridiculous. He thought it was unnecessary, but after weeks of Jason pressing and pleading, Daniel finally agreed. It would be simple. They would set up hidden cameras. Daniel would flirt with Maria. He would test her. He would see if she would take the bait, if she would betray Jason, and so the plan was set in motion. The day of the test, Jason watched from a hidden room, his heart pounding in his chest, his hands sweating as he saw Maria walk into the elegantly decorated apartment they had rented. For the test, Daniel was already there, leaning casually against the kitchen counter. His smile was warm, inviting. Maria walked in, her eyes scanning the room, her expression a mixture of curiosity and surprise. She had been told it was a business meeting that Jason had set up for her. She had no idea she was being watched. No idea that every movement, every word was being recorded. "Hey," Maria. Daniel greeted, his voice smooth, his eyes focused on her. "Thanks for coming. I know this is last minute, but I just wanted to talk to you about something important." "Something personal?" Maria smiled, polite but wary. "Oh, okay, sure, what is it?" Daniel took a step closer, his gaze never leaving hers. Jason held his breath, watching the screen, his stomach twisting into knots as Daniel spoke. "I just feel like I need to be honest with you, Maria. I've had feelings for you for a long time, and I can't keep it to myself anymore. I know you're with Jason, but I can't pretend I don't feel this way. Being around you, seeing you with him, it kills me. I need to know if there's any chance. If you've ever thought about me the way I've thought about you." Jason's heart stopped. His mind screamed at the screen, willing Maria to shut it down, to tell Daniel that she loved Jason and would never think of anyone else. He watched as Maria's expression changed, her lips parted slightly, her brows furrowed. She hesitated just for a second, and that second felt like an eternity. Daniel reached for her hand, his touch gentle. Maria didn't pull away. She didn't recoil. She just looked at him, and Jason felt the air leave his lungs. "Maria, you don't have to answer right away," Daniel continued, his voice soft. "I just need to know, because if there's even a chance that you feel the same way, I'll wait for you. I'll be patient." Jason clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. Waiting for her answer. Maria took a deep breath. She looked down, then back up at Daniel, and what she said shattered Jason's world. "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't know." Jason felt everything crumble around him. The weight on his chest grew heavier. His vision blurred. His hands trembled. His worst fears had come true. She hadn't said yes. She hadn't thrown herself into Daniel's arms, but she hadn't said no either. She hadn't pushed him away. She hadn't told him that she loved Jason, and only Jason. Daniel played his part perfectly. He looked hurt, vulnerable, but hopeful. "So there's a chance?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Maria swallowed hard. Jason could see the conflict in her eyes. But that conflict wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for him to believe that she had been loyal all along, because the truth was clear. She was considering it. She was thinking about it. She wasn't sure. And that was enough to break him. "I need time," Maria finally said, her voice small. Daniel nodded. "I understand. Take all the time you need." Jason couldn't watch anymore. He stormed out of the hidden room, his pulse pounding, his head spinning as he burst into the apartment. Maria turned, at the sound of the door slamming, her eyes widening when she saw him. Jason, don't. Jason's voice was raw with pain. Don't say anything. Maria's mouth opened, then closed, her face pale, her hands shaking. Jason turned to Daniel, his best friend, his brother. You knew this was just a test. He spat. You knew this was fake, but she didn't say no. She didn't say no, Daniel. She didn't push you away. She didn't tell you she loved me. Daniel looked down, guilty, regretful. But Jason didn't care anymore. Everything he had built, everything he had believed in, was gone. Maria stepped forward, reaching for him. Jason, please let me explain. Explain. Jason laughed bitterly. Explain what? That you need time to decide if you want to cheat on me with my best friend, that you aren't sure if you love me enough to be loyal. Tears welled in Maria's eyes. Jason, please, I wasn't thinking. I was caught off guard. I didn't know what to say. You didn't know what to say? Jason repeated, his voice hollow, his chest hollow, his entire existence hollow. Maria tried to speak again, but Jason shook his head. He turned away. He couldn't look at her anymore. He couldn't look at Daniel either. He walked past them, walked out the door, walked away from everything he had known. As he stepped outside, the cold air hit him, but it didn't clear his mind. It didn't make the pain go away. Nothing could, because in that moment, Jason realized that love wasn't unbreakable. Love was fragile. Love was uncertain, and love could be destroyed in a single moment.